a person who's being paid say that they must buy your product or your service. They want to see people that really get those videos. Even if you ask your customer, please, can you just do a selfie video telling people how you experienced my business? Do it and get it and put it on your website. Okay, then what is the most influential type of advertising? And here again, 35% said traditional TV ads, but the millennial respondents preferred social media ads that allowed them to interact with the brand. So you need to think live chat, live stream, video testimonials. Again, video testimonials, I think, is very important for the future. Get your customers to, film a little video testimonial, tell people how they experienced your product or service, and then other people are going to buy in because they can see it's a genuine person that used it. Okay, so we're going to quickly touch on what digital transformation is. So digitization is the converting of picture or sound or any business process, okay, into a digital form that can be processed by a computer. Okay, and the digital transformation strategy, you need to ask yourself two questions on that. Which parts of my business can be digitized? Okay, and we're going to go through a few examples. So you can move your business from the traditional info sheet where you print it out and you fill out your customer's information and then eventually you put it in an Excel spreadsheet, to a CRM system where you have it on your phone, you have it on your computer, and it's on the go. You can put in the information, and you can phone people straight out. It'll log your phone call, or you can send them a template email out of the CRM. So that's the more modern way of digitizing that customer information management. Then to move from paper forms to digital forms, have your customers fill out a digital form and quickly, send it in and it comes into your CRM. Or if you're at an event, have, a forms application on your phone or on your tablet where you can even document information while you're offline and you don't have connectivity. And then when you log in, it will upload all the information into your CRM. So that's very important to look at now going into the future. And then written signatures to digital signatures. Now, recently with this COVID pandemic, more and more people don't want to be handling documents and handling things because of, COVID. A lot of people are now demanding digital signatures. So moving from written signatures to a digital signature application is very, very important. All right, and then also contact us form on your web page. Okay, so you still need a contact us form on your web page, but you can move to having a better setup when you move to having a contact us form and a live chat on your website. Also the new generation of customers want to have instant gratification. They want to be able to chat you quickly. They can do that on the live chat. And it's even if you're a one-person business, you can get a live chat on your website. And if you're not available, it's still going to notify you and give you all the information of that person. Then you can take it one step further. You can have a live chat and a chat bot on your website chat, where the chatbot can ask a few questions. So what are you interested in? And you see there, it says family trip. All right, how many number of members are in your family? And then you select it, and all that information can be used even while you're not even online. Okay, and then the digital transformation strategy, question number 2, what do we want to achieve? That's what you need to ask. So you want to increase the productivity of your staff. You want to improve your business process efficiencies. You need to create a better customer experience and a better employee experience. Okay, and to do that, you can go and you can map through your business processes and see how you can improve them and digitize them. And this one I'm going to go through very quickly. From, let's say, this is an old school, like a pre-digitization example, getting a customer to fill out a warranty claim form on a PDF where they must now print it, they must now fill it out, they must scan it, they must email it back, and then the staff, remember, receives the email. First of all, they got to figure out maybe if its pages are scanned upside down or the file's too big, and then they have to save it all somewhere. Then they have to respond and say that they've received the form. Then they must notify a staff member in writing via email, however, to get the warranty approved, then get the approval and send it back. It's a complete slow business process. It's not efficient enough. Whereas once you digitize it, you can have an online form where the customer fills out the information, they attach the photos of the issue of the product, it automatically gets sent into the CRM and it automatically emails them to say that it's been received. Then there's an auto trigger that triggers the approval process and notifies the staff member that must approve that warranty. Once that staff member approves that warranty, an automated email says that the warranty has been approved, and it gives the customer further instructions. So you see how quicker that is. There's no printing, scanning, no signing, no emailing. It's real quick and simple processes that you can improve. And the business can track the analytics. So the average claim approval time, and also you can have an automated customer happiness survey sent to them to make sure that they're happy with the process. So that's a very important way to think of how you can digitize different processes, and then map your customer journey. Go through how they see your website. How did they become aware of your company? Website, social media, Google My Business. And then how do you capture their information? Do you have a digital form? Is it a live chat? You know, and how you manage that lead in your CRM. Do you send them another form for them to fill out what they're interested in? And then how do you nurture them? How do you communicate with them? You know, how do you sign contracts? Is it a digital signature? How do you invoice them? Is there an online payment gateway plugged into your invoicing system? You know, and surveys, happiness ratings, and then retention. Do you have a support desk that can support your current customers to, you know, keep them happy? Service reminders, and then advocacy. How do you help them promote your business? How do you help them be even more happier about your business? And how do you set yourself ahead of the other competition? Birthday messages with a discount code, or a purchase anniversary email or SMS. And then next, map your employee's journey. I'm mindful of time. I think I'm going over the time slot, but I can also send you the link to this presentation. You can view it. You can view it online. But yeah, just to see from the recruitment, you know, process all the way through to, you know, managing customer satisfaction surveys. Your staff need the tools. And then this is the last slide, second last slide. Then assess the technology solutions and engage with your key staff members and get them to test the technology. Be mindful that there are comfort zones. So you need to help motivate them and tell them about the long-term benefits of maybe digitizing or moving into a technology. And then explain to them that the technology, it might take time to get used to, but it might be reducing your business expenses or improving a process. And then lastly, not many people like change. So first get your influential staff members to agree that it's going to help the business, and then get them to motivate the rest of the staff. And then we've just got some examples of change here, some apps that you can look at. So in-person document signing to digital signing, we've got Zoho Sign or DocuSign. Then personal chat apps moving to an internal business chat, we've got Zoho Click or Slack. Then there's project management data spreadsheets. You're going to move rather to a project management application, which is on the computer and phone. We've got Zoho Projects, and other options are Trello. Then we've got customer data spreadsheets. You want to move to a CRM system, and we've got Zoho CRM, or we've got Zoho Begin. There are other options like Salesforce. And then from expensive technology to more affordable technology, we've got Zoho Workplace, which is a package deal, and Zoho One, which is a package deal. It's discounted package deals. And then integration spaghetti, where you have rather a very connected set of applications. And then Zoho One is the example there. So yeah, just giving everyone an overview of what can help, but definitely go out and try all the different technology options out there, get a trial, get a demo, and evaluate them separately. All right, so that's it from me. Thank you very much. Apologies again for the technical difficulties, but I'm sure this went through perfectly fine. That Absolutely. Is my email address. If you need anything, and I will put the links that I said I would, I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
Thank you again, Andrew. Thank you so much. We're behind by about 15 minutes. That is a whole lot. So we're not going to go into a lot of the peripherals. We're just going to dive into Fatoumata's presentation right now. Fatoumata, are you ready? You with me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Okay, so I'm making you co-host, and we can share your screen, get into it right away. Thank you. Done.
All righty. Let's see.
Great.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's see. Oh, it's not allowing me to move. What is going on? Apologies.
While she's working on that, I would like to remind everyone listening and watching that Ms. Fatmata Sukuna Coker is founder and group president, Y Group Holdings Incorporated. She works in the MSME space, and she'll be speaking on opportunities and the trajectory of the continent's markets, that is African markets. Fatimata, you ready?
For some reason, it's
Still working on it. Okay.
For me. Yeah. Apologies.
So everyone, no, it's fine. We understand this tech things. So everyone, you remember that I spoke. Okay, so it looks like Fatimata is ready.
Okay, I know that a lot of times we like to give Africa the bad rap about technology, but I will stand corrected. I really do think that most of the time it's not our side, but we always get the bad rap. Okay, so let's try this again.
Though.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Okay, great. Yes.
Okay, can you see me now?
Great. We're there.
Okay, let's see. Okay. Can you guys see me as a screen with slide show?
Yes, we can see you. We can see your slides.
Okay. All right, so thank you very much, everybody, for dialing in and listening to us today. And I'm going to try to be very quick. The slides, I believe, will be available for sharing. So if you have any questions, let us know. I think our moderator will be able to help us as we go through. So again, I'm Fatimata Sukuna Coker. And today I'm going to be trying to give us some positive spin on the opportunities that are available on the continent and how we can basically harness them moving forward. So the next slide I have here, this is weird. My slides are not moving. Can anybody see it moving?
No.
Yeah, it's not moving. Do I have full access? Can you please check again and make sure? It's not.
So Fatimata, could you try presenting the slide? So if you press F5 or go to the slideshow, that might.
Yeah, I've tried to do that and it's still not doing it. I mean, it's fine on my end, but it's not showing on your end. And I'm not sure why. Okay, so let me don't take much time. I'll go ahead and compromise, and hopefully everybody will be able to get the slide and you can see more detail. Is that okay? Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So basically what I want to talk to us today about is the micro, small and medium-sized business that we have on the continent and some of the trajectory that we've been seeing. I'll talk to some statistics, but I'll also speak specifically to Nigeria and some examples that is happening today. So basically, points to share, characteristics in the trajectory, Nigeria micro outlook and emerging opportunities, I'll also talk specific about the Nigerian, facts and figures, and then some opportunities in the COVID-19 era. We'll talk a little bit about a couple of case studies and then some tips. So quickly moving into just what we have seen across the board on the continent and some of the research from places like the International Finance Corporation, IFC. That's an estimated of over 65 million firms that are supposed to be in the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprise space in developing countries. And basically what we're seeing is that these developing countries have an unmet financing need of over 5.2 trillion every year. What this says for us is that when we look at the continent, we have huge opportunities. We, in 2016, had 220 million new consumers that joined the market, meaning people that want services and products that now are adults that can afford to pay for these things. And so we need more and more businesses that are creating these services and products for these consumers. We also know that when we look at the numbers as far as unemployment and employment, if you will, most of what we see on the continent is coming from the small, medium-sized business, whether informal or formal. The opportunity is huge. We have over 600 million that we're projecting that's going to be happening across the board by 2030. So how do we start as Nigerian small, medium-sized businesses to prepare ourselves to capture these opportunities? Also keeping in mind that when we look at what's happening in the job market, we have over 7 or 8 out of 10 jobs that are coming from the micro, small, medium-sized business enterprises. And this is from the World Bank in 2019. However, we also have a challenge. We always look at the fact that when it comes to businesses, we want ease of business. We want to be able to have the ability to have funding available for our growth in our businesses and all of those things. We are seeing in the numbers that there are trillions of dollars that have been left on the table, especially when it comes to emerging markets, because of certain things that we need to do as small businesses to capture those funds to expand our business. One of the other characteristics of this space is that in Africa, 70% of these small and medium-sized businesses are basically responsible for employment. Also we realize that we have about $100 billion just on the continent that is needed for growing these businesses. Some of the case in point points to Ghana and South Africa. That shows that these businesses are covering a whole lot more on the GDP. So the opportunity is immense. We are talking about technology today. I see that the agenda focuses on innovation and it also tailored closely towards digital. But when we look at the characteristics of our small and medium-sized business on the continent, majority of our businesses are not in that trajectory to take advantage of this said digital economy that's going to happen, because they're mom and pops. They're basically at the very bottom of the pyramid, if you will. So what are we to do to make sure that they come into the basic of the digital need or world? I took another deep dive into what is possible for Nigeria. And when we look at Nigeria, we see that there are multiple opportunities. Of course, you can't talk about Nigeria without talking about oil and gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
The oil and gas situation within Nigeria has always been something that we have to talk about, because that's where the government gets the money. That's where the foreign exchange happens and all of that. However, today, because of COVID and what is happening around the world, we're finding that the micro, small, and medium-sized business are now being able to play in some of these areas. I'll give you a typical example in the oil and gas. The oil and gas sector now in Nigeria is looking to technology. It's looking to how technology can play a major role in that sector, whether it's with pipeline vandalizing or just making sure that you have security, or looking at the prospects of wastage and so forth and so on, even carbon print. So you see that small businesses, and just about a few weeks ago, I was on a panel judging some amazing small, medium-sized businesses, some of them just out of college, showcasing their technology on how they can help these massive oil and gas businesses prevent wastage, prevent vandalizing, and so forth and so on. We also see that these small and medium-sized businesses can do a lot with things like gas for cooking. Now we see that because of the COVID, a lot of gas providers are now popping up, where I get text now from the company that can come to my house and fill my cooking gas, my LPG at my house. They would charge you a little bit more, and they're able to do that. What did that do for us in the last 4 or 5 months? The gas company created some opportunities, because now they need logistics. They need another company to make sure that that gas comes to my house and so forth. So you pay that extra 1,000 Naira. So that's another business that came about because of that. We also see that in the healthcare, people were able to Health Plus and other health pharmaceuticals were able to deliver medicines at home. Again, creating a whole different opportunity for micro, medium-sized businesses to thrive. There's also the food, for example. Restaurants were closed, so we had to have people deliver food to homes, sometimes offices, sometimes hospitals. So again, playing in the micro space, giving opportunities to those companies to be able to deliver those services. We also see that a lot of social media is happening. The opportunity is expanding in the financial sector, because we're seeing now, instead of having these big newspaper ad that we used to see 10 years ago in Nigeria, what you're seeing is a lot more of interaction happening. And what is going on? Small 1-man, 2-man person is able to now come up with a business plan and say to the bank, if you give me some of your marketing dollars, I can create the traction and the drive to web for your particular product and launch. So we're even seeing that in the financial sector, and so forth and so on. Those are just few examples of where the opportunities are. Moving to some specifics. If we look at Nigeria, and this is something so amazing, I love to hear other countries talk about the SMEs, and I always crack up, because even in Nigeria, almost 42 million, and some people would say 43, falls in the MSME business. That's a whole country. Just in Nigeria, there's the people that are operating in the micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. That's if only one person is hired in each one of those businesses. That's a whole country. That's bigger than Ghana. So the opportunity is massive. And other this, you have 84% that are basically providing employment, some way for someone to get a livelihood. You also see that within this segment, 50% is contributing towards the GDP of Nigeria. Massive opportunity here. We also know that, you know, the proprietorship of these companies are so young. You have 20-year-olds, some of them less, but if we were to take majority of the population that sits in that 41 point something million, you have 20 to 60-year-olds that are operating in this space. We also see that one of the growth areas that you will see on this slide is that only 10 to 15% of our small and medium-sized businesses, micro, small, and medium-sized businesses are in manufacturing. That's where the opportunity sits. Because if you look at Ghana on the slide before, Ghana has over 70% of theirs in manufacturing. That means small manufacturing, whether it's finishing the tomatoes or packaging, groundnut, whatever, they are able to create that. And that's where we should be focusing our energy if we really want to grow, because this is where you now have a multiplier with value chain when you get into manufacturing. So that's a huge opportunity there for Nigeria. Most of what we do in Nigeria is around, you know, wholesale and retail. Again, if you were to drop down that 55% more into manufacturing, you will find yourself doing multiples on your retail and wholesale, because you can only get so much on a retail because the original manufacturer has already created a price. You can put 5% or 10% if you can, but most of the time it's 2%, 1%, and 3%, and you have to sell so much more of that for you to grow your business. But imagine if you went back into the vertical and start to look at how you can add value in the vertical. That's where you now start to see, and that's where you now find that you will find that funding for financing, right? Because every time we talk about SMEs or MSMEs, it always like the challenge is funding. But I think the challenge isn't funding. The challenge is, where are you positioning yourself in the spheres to make sure that you now have the ability to attract the funding that is needed to grow. It makes it easier. So the next slide I want to show real quickly is now how, right? I've given you guys a little bit of the dynamics, the characteristics, what they've set out there, the reality in Nigeria. And now, if you are sitting in this space, what are you doing right? Continue doing those right. What are you doing wrong? You need to look at it and say, look, it's time for me to pivot, right? This is the best time to pivot because everything goes. It's almost like the whole puzzle has been thrown up, and now it's time for you to grab a piece and land it in the exact area that's going to make you successful. So how do you do this? How do you get innovative? Innovation allows businesses to solve new problems with new solutions while offering new business opportunities and revenue and avenues. Some innovation can be as simple as just saying, you know what, there's a lot of tomatoes out there that's going to rot. I'm going to be the one to go ahead and syndicate all of those rotten tomatoes and make paste and take it to the place where they make paste. You don't even have to make the paste. You can just be the one to make sure that they get it, right? It could be that simple. We also have complex, because that's when you get into the complex, that what makes that complex is that now you're about to disrupt somebody. You're about to kind of make people scared, and that could put a whole different spin on it. However, it does not always have to be complicated. Through innovation, MSMEs can keep their business up and running throughout this COVID situation. Now, I give you an example of, going to get your LPG. All of a sudden, the company is pivoting to now delivering to your house, checking to make sure that when you're low, they can call you and send you a text to say, oh, madam, it's about time for you to refill. That particular service have alleviated a lot of stress for a lot of people, because you can imagine you're making your cereals, egusi soup or whatever, and in the middle, your gas is finished. What do? Right? Before, we have to go to Obalande or whatever else, so you have to send someone to get. But now you have somebody 24/7 that can pull up at your house, pay an extra 1,000 naira, and you're sorted. Determine whether your business, right, to understand even more how you get this done, is to start to say, okay, how is my business, right, model, how can it solve the current problem, right, and future problems? You also need to identify innovative ideas and skill sets that will enable that. For the immediate and long term, mapping your business model to work now and beyond. And when I say business model, it's just not, oh yeah, this is my market, no, your pricing model. Understand the attitude of spending in your market. We see a lot of times people coming to Africa and they put some of our sectors in nonprofit because, oh, we don't have the spending ability. That's not true. Think about it. We are talking about digital. How many people are now, even the government, focused on making sure we have electricity? There is no way a small and medium-sized business can operate in a digital space without electricity. But then electricity is so expensive. So what does that say? It says that it's a challenge that presents an opportunity to someone that is in the energy space to say, how do I sell energy to a population of people that needs to buy now as little as they want it. So let's take an example of MTN. MTN was able to do that. You can now buy a scratch card for 50 naira and still communicate, right? So take that same example and go into the village somewhere. Somebody is doing an SME right now that is selling kerosene. And every day, the population in that village is buying kerosene for 50 naira to run for maybe 3 or 4 hours in the evening in the lamps. Now, if you come in there as a electricity company and decide to give clean energy, but make sure your business plan matches what the affordability of the substitute is, you have a market. You always have to look at the attitude as well of the person that is buying or the market that you're looking at. Map out your strategy and be proactive in your business continuity plan. We all saw that when COVID happened, everybody had to work from home. If you were not ready to do that, you were basically screwed, right? Most businesses went out because they didn't have a continuity plan. The next slide we'll talk to real quickly is about leadership. Now that I've stressed that the majority of our MSMEs are in a space where electricity is a problem, technology is not available or very minimum, we are also saying to all of our MSMEs, digital literacy is important. Even if it's about just working your telephone, your GSM, it is very important. Communication tools are important. You have to collaborate. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to stay connected to your clients. It is happening. I'm originally from Liberia. I usually go home. When we were little, when we got home to go to the farm, my grandparents would have to stop at the what we call the junction to let them know that we were in town. So the fish lady will come and the oil lady, whoever else will come to the house because, then we didn't have telephones. Well, even the palm wine, you had to tell the palm wine to top of that you were here. So every morning he would come and bring the palm wine. Well, guess what? After years of being away, my family and I, my siblings and I went home and we were trying to find the lady that usually would bring the lobsters and everything when we were growing up. And lo and behold, she showed up And she said, oh, here's my phone number. Now, you have to understand, this was incredible. I mean, give or take, it was not a smartphone, but just the fact that she understood her market. She knew that now her market had moved to remote. People want something now and here. And if I'm not at the junction, I've lost that market. So she now had a phone that you could call her for delivery. And so did the Palm One Topper, by the way. So we're moving into that space, but we need more to happen there. And that's an opportunity for us, a micro, medium-sized business, to look at and say, how do I provide this service for this group of people within this space? Strategy. Your strategy has to be clear. You got to understand where you want your organization to go. Is it just going to be in SMEs, or are you going to grow at some point to get to the big boys? Remote management of your client. I mean, the speaker before me, Andrew, had made some of these points, so I won't go over it again. The next slide are just some examples of how these companies within Kenya and China were able to pivot and make sure that they remain relevant through this uncertainty that we're going through called COVID. I'll leave that to you guys to go ahead and be able to see for yourselves and digest. But just to tell you, because they were so innovative in their processes, they were able to adopt technology. So it's not always about, oh, you need to have technology. No, technology is an enabler. You got to have your own strategy. You got to understand where you're going to enable yourself to now pivot and use technology as a tool to get you there, okay? There are some challenges here. We all know it, deficit as far as the infrastructure. But one of the things that I want to put out here really quickly, while all have been said, what is most important to me and in my experience is the human capital. We have a very, very bad habit of not trying to develop our human capital in our roles as leaders or as business owners. We will go for the cheapest. We will think that, oh, well, it's not worth it. But one thing you have to understand, in the market that we are today, it is very imperative that you spend time in choosing the right people to join your team and making sure that that person or persons are continuously developed to meet the challenges that will be presented. Before the last slide, this is also some opportunities that you can look at. Like I said in the previous slides, there are gaps that you can find opportunities through for funding. Be smart about where you position yourself in the market. There are opportunities for processes change, and I was glad to hear from, I think it's Andrew that spoke earlier before me, some great technology options there for you. Again, your technology options will only be relevant to your business if you have the strategy and if you have mapped out clearly where you want to go. If you just go ahead and start adopting technology, you will be wasting money, wasting time, and you will not have any return on your investments. Always know that technology only enables your business. It makes you better. It gets you more efficient, and it makes your customer more happier if it is working appropriately. If they're not doing those things, you're just screwed. Your business, again, create a good culture in your business. It's important. Innovation doesn't always have to be complex. Innovation can be simple. You can make it as simple as 1, 2, 3 for giving the best service or product to your customer. Always keep your always be obsessed with your customer. Mm-hmm. You will have the opportunity to have a growing market share if you're obsessed with your customer. Sure. Love on your employees, because if you do and get your employees to where they feel like they're owning that business with you, then you have continuous support, you have continuous value, you have continuous standards that you're giving to your customer. That also will give you the cutting edge to get into new business outlets and expand your business. Now, I'm going to go a little bit philosophical on you people, because it's important to have the right attitude. Now, find yourself, like I said, I was giving you some tips. So there's some tips. Find your key success factor. Okay. Create a task force, a team, leadership team, skill sets, because sometimes when you start your business, you're probably everything in one. You're the human resource person, you're the talent management person, the CTO, the COO, the finance, everything. Sure. Do not allow yourself to be those things without getting the right skill sets. Okay. Go and get it. If you're going into a market space, you're not quite sure of, give yourself the time, the excuse to go and learn it. Go to the right kind of conferences, listen to the right kind of training, get as much information of that particular skill set or functionality in your company that you will be more proficient to deliver it. Now, inspire yourself and your team. Find that thing that will make you stronger and motivate your team. When I started working in Nigeria, I realized something. I understand that my team had all the ability to be successful, but they had the wrong attitude. They had the skill set, they had, they were smart, they were aggressive, they were tenacious and all of that, but the attitude was wrong. And so I had to build a culture that allowed for that attitude to match all of the things that I knew we could accomplish. Okay, and one of the things that I use, just to end, is this, and it's by Charles Snowdon. What he said is stuck with me for a long time. I've been reading this for quite a while, but it says, the longer that I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on my life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It is more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It is more important than the appearances, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, or a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We cannot change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. I am convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you, my MSMEs. We are in charge of our attitude.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll be on standby for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So initially when you came on, we were overshot by 15 minutes and now we're overshot by 18 minutes. So again, I'm not going to be able to take questions right away, but I'm asking everyone to go to the social media handles that we have already given you. We'll be taking your questions there and directing them to the speakers as well. I'm going to go right into the next presentation. And this gentleman have been waiting. They'll be speaking on innovation through ecosystems. Mr. Bruno Guerra and Professor Abayomi Bayere, are you on now? I already made you co-host, so let's dive right into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll try to be on time. Sorry, we had to be a little bit later on, but I know that AB has to run to give a lecture at his university, and I have to run afterwards to into the next meeting. Sorry for being brief, but the good part on this is This is just a warm-up that we're trying to do today in a short 15 minutes. And tomorrow we start and kick off the day 3 with a little interactive session that we have prepared. So this is basically to give you a glimpse of what we have in mind, to use a bit of the overall theme of, you know, innovation in critical times, and how to look at the various stakeholders that are actually on the palette, and whatever you call it, the triple helix, the quadruple helix, the quintuple helix. We had a nice start already this morning with, you know, seeing what the customers are main topic from Soho. That was great. And now we heard about, you know, what the smaller companies can achieve and who can do what. What is the role of the government? What can the innovators do? What is the role of the universities? And by that, I think there's a lot of learnings we can achieve. And with AB, we have agreed to give a little bit of a scenario of a case study. What would that pandemic do in the new ways? What if it would come back in a different ways? What can we learn, and how can we do about that? Myself, I'm involved, as you can see, also with ISPIM, and our colleague Ian is coming up on right after us to explain a bit more on that topic. I'm currently the research head for innovation in Paracelsus University here in Salzburg in Austria. And my colleague AB is the professor in business school in Copenhagen. So I'll directly hand over to AB, and I think you're sharing your screen now, so we can have a bit of a glimpse of what we had in mind with what are we doing with the ecosystem in case the pandemic comes back.
Right. Thank you, Bruno. So it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks once again to the organizers for putting this event together. So in this particular workshop that we're giving a primer to, we would just like you to picture what is going on in terms of the pandemic crisis right now, and think about what if we have to face this situation again in the future. Now, one of the things we've learned here during this lockdown has been the fact that it has been hard for some people to work. It has been really difficult for some people to get income. For many folks, it's been a challenge to collaborate. We have many people that are also struggling to really just keep safe, some of the basic things that keeps us together as a society. So challenges like these have really hit at the fabric of what makes us a society in terms of sustenance, as in terms of our social interactions. The goal of this workshop is for us to brainstorm together and try and come up with different solutions that could be useful if we have to face these challenges in the future, as well as actually how do we deal with some of the present challenges of today. So what I would like you to do is go to menti.com. Now I have it highlighted up here. So if you go to menti.com, use the code that you see on the screen, and then engage us, tell us which stakeholder group best describes you, and then we'll go through some of the other questions that we've highlighted. So I'll just take a moment, pause here, and let you do that. So once you respond to this question, you can just move on to the next question and respond to the next question that you see on your screen. So for those that may not have followed, you need to go to menti.com and use the code 5044134.
Is that a good sign we don't have any government people, or is that a bad sign?
I think that's a bad sign.
I'm still hoping that we will get some more folks. So right now we've got 4 respondents.
I hope everybody can see the screen, because in the previous presentations, I only got to see the first page of the PowerPoint, but it didn't advance. So I hope this is working for everybody.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great.
Good to know. All right, so you can use your phone, you can go to a browser, just key this in. So we've got only 4 respondents right now, and I can see we've got way more folks in the room than 4. So I'll just encourage you to do that. But while we do that, we will not be discussing these responses today, and this is not meant to be finalized now, but we just want to take your input. So even if you can't do it right now, this is something you can also do as you go home.
I put the link to the chat box as well. So for those who try to join in later on during the day, they can still do that.
That's a good point. Yeah, so you can also use the chat. That's good.
Thank you.
You can just click on the link in the chat and it takes you straight there. All right. So I'm just going to move on in the interest of time, because this is just the primer to the workshop itself. So as it is right now, we seem not to have many folks from the government here, but I hope by tomorrow we'll have a few more responses from the government. In terms of the challenges, so some of the responses we have here talk about distance learning, difficulty in doing business, the cost of business. Okay. And then the next thing we will be interested in knowing, and this is where we're going to spend a lot more time tomorrow, will be in actually talking about the solutions to these challenges. And in doing that, we'll be looking at the perspective of different stakeholders. I think I really would like to leave the stage for the other presenters and also for us to gain time in this event.
Great,
so
thank you.
This is the point where we're going to call it a day, and we look forward to seeing you in the workshop tomorrow.
Yeah,
Great.
I hope all of you are joining in as well.
We'll be there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I am very grateful. I think we've been able to do a little bit of redemption here with the time. Professor Bruno?
Yes, that's me.
Yeah, I see you. So we'll see you at the workshop tomorrow? Is that
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Okay,
I'll be
great.
delighted to be there in the morning.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
See you there.
And we hand over to Ian.
Sure.
Yeah, Ian.
Hello there.
Great.
How is
Aloha.
everyone? If you allow me to
We're-
share my screen, I will
Yes, I'm doing that for you right now.
do a very brief presentation of ISPIM.
Thank
But
you.
good to see everyone. Hi Bruno. Hi AB.
Good to see you, Ian.
In there.
Great,
Thank you.
you're on.
Okay, wonderful. So just get to the right one here. Okay, so basically what I wanted to do was introduce you briefly to ISPIM and let you know about some of our activities and how you can get involved. Essentially, we are a community of innovation professionals from around the world. Started in 1983 in Norway, but we are a global community. Currently have over 1,900 members, actually 1,901 as I looked this morning, from 70 countries around the world. Our membership is made up of researchers from academia, people from industry, from consulting, and from other public services as well. And we have a number of different activities that we're involved in. We also have a number of special interest groups that focus on various innovation management hot topics. So anything from AI and innovation management through to things like health and innovation, digital disruption, responsible innovation, etc. So if you become a member of ISPIM, by the way, I should say membership is free. If you become a member of ISPIM and you want to get involved in some of these special interest groups, you are more than welcome to do so. We also run events, usually in-person events, but as with the Nigeria Innovation Summit, we've had to go virtual this year. Our next event coming up is going to be in December, where we're going to be celebrating the world of innovation. And we shall be going to 17 different regions around the world, including to Nigeria, including to Ghana, including to Kenya, South Africa, and Mauritius. So we shall be definitely traveling around the world from Japan in 24 hours, trying to break a Guinness World Record in the process, but hearing some interesting stories from around the world, different aspects of innovation success. So, you know, if you want to join that, please do. And I know that Ken and Tony will be involved in the Nigeria section of the program. So definitely looking forward to having a good celebration in December.
Great.
Into next year, just very briefly, we have a conference coming up in Berlin where we are expecting around 700 delegates to attend. Again, these are scientific-based conferences, but we are looking for both paper presentations from researchers, and then also we're looking for practitioner presentations as well, so from research or from case studies, etc. And then finally, we're going to be in Japan in December next year. All being well, let's hope that next year is less chaotic than this.
Amen. Amen to that.
So that's me at our last event, and thank you for listening. Really good luck with everybody presenting at the Nigeria Innovation Summit. I wish you guys all the best. Great initiative. And I really look forward to appearing in person in Nigeria at some point in the very near future. So any questions about ISPIM? Any questions about ISPIM, please contact me. Come and join us. It's free. And yeah, good luck, guys.
Thank you so much, Ian. You're not going to know what hit you because you said it's free. So you're going to have a bombardment coming up soon.
Well, you know, Africa is a very innovative continent and very close to my heart. I actually grew up in Zambia, so very close to my heart. And, you know, I feel that there's some really great stories in Africa that need to come out. And, you know, events like yours and events like ours in December are going to enable us to do that. But I know you have a busy program, so I'm going to let you get on with it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thank you for helping us to redeem time as well. I'm going to be checking on the representative of Mr. Otto Orundam. Is he ready? Mr. Otto Orundam is the founder, Slum to School, and they're a big player in the digital education space in Nigeria. So, Emanuela, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I just made you co-host. I hear you, and I just made you co-host. So, we're ready?
All right.
When you are.
I'm just going to share my screen.
Great. While she's sharing her screen, I'm just going to do an audio check for Dr. Peter Appleton. and the representative of the Cleantech.
Yes, Peter Appleton is here.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm just queuing you up. We're getting ready to take Emanuela, and then I'm just queuing you up just to know that you're there. Thank you.
I'm definitely here. Looking forward
I'm
to it.
so sorry. Apologies to everybody for the skewed times, but we're trying to get it right.
No problem. Thank you.
Emanuela, we're
I'm
ready when
sorry.
you are.
Sorry, give me a moment. Thank you.
That's fine. Cleantech Hub, are you in the house? Cleantech Hub will be speaking later on innovative solutions and opportunities in the renewable energy industry. Another very, very important topic for Nigerians, especially in these days of raised tariffs and fuel pricing, all of that. Be looking forward to hear that. Professor Appleton will be speaking on applications of new technologies in agriculture and aquaculture. That's another area I'll be looking forward to engage in. So for the questions that have come out of the sessions that we just finished, while we're waiting for Emanuela to get her screen in order, please send them to our, okay, it looks like her screen is on. Please send them to our social media handles. We're taking them right there and curating them. Thank you. Emanuela, you're on. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely. Loud and clear.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. And excited to be here to be sharing on leveraging digital technology to drive education in Africa. Let me try and switch on my video so that you can also see me while I speak. All right. All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Ella, and I manage programs at Slum to School Africa. And today I'll be speaking on leveraging digital technology to drive education in Africa. Okay, sorry. I don't know why this is not moving.
Oh, the static screen again.
All right, I'll just quickly move on so that I don't take too much time.
Sure.
So the first thing I wanted to talk about was like an introduction to technology. What is really technology and why is everyone scared of it, or why does it look very unapproachable to a lot of people? So I think technology is something that is around us. It's everywhere around us. It's on our hands, in our wristwatches, it's in our hands, in our phones, it's in our cars that we probably drive wherever we're going. It's literally everywhere. It's in cooking, it's everywhere. So technology is just basically application of science to solve problems and make things easier using engineering techniques. So I wanted to just highlight that a lot of times we are uncomfortable with the word technology, but it's not something too far off. It's all around us. And then the next thing is why we should embrace technology in education, because that's where my own main concern is. So I think the first thing is that I would say that we can't be a progressive society without embracing technology. We're in the 21st century now. This is the digital age, the digital economy, the information age, and you really can't move forward without embracing technology. And education is where leaders of tomorrow are formed, where they learn how to sort of perform in their future. And if we're not putting that in, especially in this age, then I think our education is incomplete. Then the second thing is that we live in a very globalized world. The world is now so connected, and anybody that stays isolated will be left behind, and technology brings everything together. And then another thing is COVID. We're still in the period of COVID-19, and I'm sure if there's nothing that we have taken away from this, is how important it is for technology to be imbibed in learning. When the coronavirus pandemic started, schools were still in session, but when things started escalating, schools had to stop, students had to stop learning, students who were from lower income backgrounds could not go to school. Their colleagues who were from more privileged backgrounds, who were going to private schools, continue to go to school, get an education, and those students were left behind. So I'll just move on to our own story at Slum to School. So Slum to School is an education development organization. We've been working with kids from slums and remote communities across Nigeria for over 8 years now. And while a lot of our focus is on getting kids to school and getting them access to education, we're very big on making sure that that access is quality. And one way that we have been able to maintain that is by imbibing education and innovation in all our programs. So we have STEM and innovation labs in some of the schools that we support, and we've made sure our beneficiaries are always engaging with tech. So when COVID-19 happened, it was a crisis, like the whole world was thrown off balance. And it was like, how are our learners going to continue to learn? And it was something that really gave us great concern because of, one, the demographic of our learners. They're usually vulnerable kids from, slums and remote neighborhoods. And any disconnection from education meant that, one, their previous gains, the things they had learned before would be, put at risk and in jeopardize. It also meant that they were also at risk of abuse, at risk of dropping out, even when schools were back in session, and we needed to make sure that we were mitigating that. So what we did was we set up what we now know as our virtual learning program. And basically what it did was give children remote access to quality learning materials from the comfort of their homes. So we did it in two forms: our virtual learning program, where we gave kids devices and they could join into our virtual classroom. And then there was also the cluster learning program, where within their communities, there was a teacher who used digital devices to engage small groups of learners. And that's where we are right now. We're still running the program, and we're also still going to transition based on the need. So I've divided my talk today into 4 sections based on the strategy we took. And I think these 4 things can sort of give us a very good idea on how to leverage digital technology to drive education. So I've divided it into need, solution, access, and sustainability. So I'll start with need. I'm so sad that my screen is not moving. Oh, okay.
It's fine. It's fine. We're listening. It did move. Yes, it's moving.
All right, so I think I'm here. So I would have played a video, but then I don't want to. Let me see if that will play. Just to give.
We can just send the video out after
right.
the save time.
But I had said that the first thing to do was to identify the need. What problem in education are you solving? The second thing was to create a solution that solves that problem, and that's the how. And then the next thing to consider is access. Are the people that you're trying to reach with your solution able to access it? And then the next thing will be sustainability. So the first thing I'll speak about is the need. So for us, the need, first of all, was to ensure that we stopped the break in transmission in learning that was occurring, and that our students continue to learn so that they don't, lose the previous educational gains. The next thing was to expose them to things that were beyond the standard curriculum. It was very important to us. We're in the 21st century. We needed them to have 21st century core skills, which were not being taught in, usual school. And then the next thing was to also uphold the socialization component of education. So if you watch the video, you would see that we created the first virtual classroom in Africa, where students can log in and it's almost like they're in the classroom. They have those same classroom interactions. And we discovered that it was very important to our students, but I'll get back to that in a bit. And then it was very important to us that our students stayed engaged. So that was a need we needed to meet, that they stayed engaged throughout the period and there was no escalations. And then the next thing was to ensure that we kept our quality content and globally competitive. So we had to also design our solution based on this, and that our beneficiaries become comfortable with technology. So those were the needs that we wanted to meet. So I think a question may be, how do you really know the need that you want to meet? For us, we had experiences with our beneficiaries. We've been at this for 8 years. And as soon as the COVID pandemic hit, we quickly did a survey in the communities that we work in. We surveyed our learners, we surveyed members of the community, their parents, their peers, and different things. And we were able to get exactly where it hurt them. as you know, there were different solutions for education flying around at that period, but we wanted to make something very tailored to whatever needs that they were getting. And we were able to find out that socialization was very important. That was why we had to have a virtual classroom to meet that need. We were able to find out that they needed something that was interesting and engaging. We were also able to find out things that would stop them from engaging. So we're also able to plan for that. I'll speak more on that in our sustainability. So some action points that I would say we can take from this when trying to identify the need is problem comes before technology. You don't look at creating something when a problem does not exist. You design your solution around a problem. So I want us to know that the problem comes first and whatever else you're using to solve it or the innovation is secondary. So build whatever technology or innovation you're trying to do around your problem. And then the next thing to do is to understand how technology is changing how we do things or how your industry is moving. It's very, very important to be aware of what is obtainable, of what needs are being solved around your industry. You can look around you locally, you can look around internationally and have a good idea of what exactly is happening. And then I also want to point out that needs in this case doesn't always have to be about the students. In education, there are many stakeholders. It could be that you're solving something for teachers. It could be that you're solving something for parents. It could be that, I don't know, you're solving a different need for students that is not necessarily their formal education. So you should be very aware of all these things. And then when you have identified the need, the next thing to do is how are you going to solve the problem? So for us, we knew that we wanted our students to have a wholesome curriculum. So we built the kind of curriculum we wanted, and then we looked for technology that was already existing that could solve those problems. We thought of our virtual classroom. We wanted the socialization component. We needed to create it. It had never been done before. We researched, we adapted things, we created things. We failed a couple of times, but I mean, at the end of the day, we were able to successfully build something. So when crafting a solution, it's very important to see digital or your innovation as a means to an end. As I'd said before, your problem is the first thing and it's a means to an end. And then when you're also designing something, you have to think of the end user. You have to design something that the end user would want to use. You want to design something that they would feel comfortable using, they would want to continue using. It's more like design thinking and user-centered design. I'm no expert at that, but I think reading a thing or two on those
pretty basic.
Yes, could definitely guide you. You need to know what makes your, I'll call them target audience, because I don't want to keep saying students, because education is wider than students. It could be teachers, it could be parents, it could be stakeholders, it could be even
business
school
people.
managers. Yes, it could even be business people. So whoever you're designing that solution for, you have to think like them and make sure that whatever you're designing serves them. I know sometimes we have fantastic ideas, but if at the end of the day it's not going to serve your end user, then it's really not actually a solution. And then another thing is, innovation doesn't always have to be creating something new. As I'd mentioned, when we fleshed out what we wanted them to learn, we looked for things that were already locally obtainable. We looked for example, for our formal curriculum, we partnered with an organization called Atom Learning to use their platform to offer our formal educational services. Eventually, we would be able to do those things ourselves, but at that moment, we needed to start, and we could start with something already there. For some other things, we needed to adapt something that somebody already had to fit our context or to fit our particular demographic. And some things we just had to create from scratch. So it's a spectrum, and you shouldn't feel guilty if it doesn't seem like you're creating something so grand. As I had said, technology is not supposed to be something scary. It's just looking for what to apply to make things easier. So I wanted to also point out that we shouldn't see technology as something for just people in Silicon Valley. Throughout this process, we didn't write one line of code. We did have technical expertise in the house because, I mean, we're a big community at Slum to School, but we didn't need to do that because we didn't really need to do that to solve our problem. So you just look for what exactly you need. And it's very important to also think of what you have to give. For example, what can you afford? There's so much we can do to solve problems, but you have to be very realistic. How much can I really afford? And build a solution around that. You need to know what is locally obtainable, and yeah, just always leverage what is available, what is in your hand. So some action points to take from this. I think it's good to remember that technology is always about people and is always about serving a need. So whatever you're building has to serve that need. And it's also very important to start with what you have and then keep building up. So I'll ask, what are you doing with your phone that you already have? You can run WhatsApp classes, you can train. There's so many things you can do with just your phone. So you don't have to wait till you have some maybe big grants or some massive money to do something. There's so many things you can do. So yeah, as I had said, tech is meant to be simple. When it becomes too complicated, then it doesn't solve the problem it's meant to solve. So make sure you keep your solution very simple, and digital doesn't always mean technical. And I'll say this again, in solution building, it's okay to fail. We failed, I mean, in a couple of ways. There were things we thought would work initially and they didn't end up working. But we didn't sit down and cry. We brushed ourselves up and did something else, did things better. And I think now we did something that is really serving our community and has gotten a lot of global acclaim. So the next thing is, how can it be assessed? I just want to say, no matter how great your software is or your innovation is, if it can't reach your student or your end user, then it's meaningless.
Sure.
So for us, if we had made this really sophisticated, or maybe not so sophisticated virtual classroom, we had put this wonderful program together, and at the end of the day, our students could not access it, then it would just be useless. So we had to think of how they could access it. For us, it meant giving students digital devices. It meant going the extra mile of also ensuring that they had internet and ensuring that it was internet that worked in their vicinity. It also meant that our younger learners who we couldn't entrust in tablets, we gave teachers, community-based teachers, laptops where the students can also access this content, and we also gave them internet. So access is very important. And then if the students had these devices and this internet and they didn't know how to use the device, they didn't know how to get on the platforms, then that's also useless. So you also really need to think about ensuring that any training needed is given. So at the beginning of the intervention, we did a week-long training for our students and our teachers where we taught them the what to expect in the curriculum, how they'll be accessed, how to use their devices and certain things. So as I said, access may be very capital intensive, but it's good to view it as an investment. Nothing good comes easy, and really you can't run away from things in the digital age. So I would always encourage everyone to start as early as they can and start small and continue building. What I would also say is we can also learn from the commercial world. When people solve problems, they raise capital for it. They can go to investors and demand for funding. So when you have a problem that you're genuinely solving, you've built a good and sustainable solution around it, you can always scale when you prove it works. So don't be scared of, I don't know, how capital intensive technology may seem. It may look intimidating sometimes, but it's a good investment. And I think beyond any reasonable doubt now, everyone should know that technology is the way to go, and we cannot move education forward without technology. Knowledge right now is democratized just because we have technology. Students in Nigeria, our students, they're learning from some of the best sources around the world, and they're better for it. They're definitely going to be above their peers, all things being equal, just because they have access to information that their peers didn't have.
Sure.
And that's what technology has done for them. So I think the next thing would be
the last
would be sustainability. So after all this, how do we ensure that it's sustained, it stands the test of time, and it continues serving its purpose? So for us, it was about the utilization after buying, the impact to ensure that it's meeting its needs, and how we can always improve. So some considerations we made, we had to invest in low-cost devices. So we prioritized using tablets instead of laptops, even though laptops could have given us more functionality, but we knew that to be sustainable, we could not afford that. And our students may not also be able to use those laptops for a long period of time. So we considered that. We considered electricity. So we invested in devices with good batteries. We also made provisions within community where they could charge their devices when they needed it. Then we also thought about the environment. We put a lot of things into consideration. So nothing can be done in isolation. You have to think broadly. We thought about so many things. We thought about tablets that may fall. We needed rugged ones. So it was a very, very long process trying to find the right tablet. And I mean, as I'm going to talk, just say again, we're still in a process. We're still learning. We're still improving. We're entering the second phase of our intervention, and we have improved a lot of things from how we started. Then another thing I would say for sustainability is partnerships. So as I mentioned, we partnered with Atom Learning, for example, for a platform that they gave us. We partnered with Microsoft. We're still open to a lot of partnerships. If we want to be as sustainable and scale as we want, we'll still partner with organizations like Telco. And as I said, be multidimensional. We taught our students what would make them not come to classes. And we realized that a lot of them would need to go into their communities to conduct economic activities for their families. So we also had as a side program a relief bank where they could come and get food stuff if they really needed to, so they don't need to be distracted from their education. We thought about giving them mentorship support and everything. And then for next steps moving forward, we have to continue to advocate. Right now, if this is to be sustainable, internet should be seen as a human right, and we need organizations like the government to step in to subsidize internet and different things. We also need to train various stakeholders. As I mentioned, we trained our teachers, but you can't just train students without training their teachers or their family members if you want to be sustainable. And I think one very big thing that we've learned is community engagement. It takes a village to raise a child. So yeah, I'll just stop.
Yes, thank you very much. You helped us to buy back some time, and Dr. Appleton is right there. I'm going to try and do something and democratize your next steps and ask people to put in their suggestions as well in the chat boxes, and so that there can be some interactions between your side and our side as well, and let people pump in the ideas and then take away ideas from the things that you've shared. Dr. Appleton, are you there? Thank you so much, Ella, and thank you for keeping it short.
Yes, Peter Appleton is here.
Great, we have you, you're on.
Can I share the screen, please?
Absolutely, I made you co-host.
Okay, we'll see what happens here. Can you see anything?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, it takes a while to get here from USA to Nigeria, I guess.
I guess 11 hours by Delta.
We'll be getting it.
Yeah.
Try again. Oh, there we go. I messed up.
Great.
How about that?
Great. We see you, we hear you, you're on.
And you see the blue screen in front of you?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Earthwise Global. Good.
Why don't we start this up and get on? Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me, and good day to Nigeria from beautiful Vermont and the campus of Norwich University here in the USA. It's a pleasure to be back in Nigeria. It's been a number of years since I've had the pleasure of being in your country and in Western Africa, but it's always a pleasure being with you. I'm speaking officially as the visiting professor from Canada at Norwich University in the Green Mountains of Vermont. But I'm from Canada, and I have traveled the world and had the opportunity of visiting your beautiful country and many countries in West Africa, East Africa, and including Mali and Zimbabwe in the more central zone. And I'm always excited to get back because relative to other parts of the world that I travel in, innovation is alive and well in Africa. And the more I read about it, the more I hear people talk in this forum and other forums, the more excited I get. And I basically come from an agricultural economics background. Most of my work has been international. And I'll tell you, much of what I'm going to talk about today, I learned from Africa. I learned from Latin America. I did not learn it in Canada. I did not learn it in the United States, because innovation is much more alive in other parts of the world than it is here. So what I've done, I've stolen ideas from you. I've taken your impressions and your advice you've given me over the last 15 to 20 years working in Africa to try and develop a more economical, a more effective way of growing crops and feeding people. Because quite frankly, my opinion is traditional North American agriculture does not work. It's very expensive, it's very damaging to the environment, and it doesn't produce pure, healthy, clean food. So what I've done, I've taken your ideas and I've listened carefully over the years, and I've come back to North America and said, okay, I'm going to show Africa what I've learned from Africa, and I'm going to take the African ideas to North America and around the world. So what I've done, I've looked around and I said, what are the resources we have in agriculture for food production? You know, the cheapest and most abundant one we have is air. What if we could actually harness the air? What if we could harness nature? And that was a crazy idea I came up with about 15 years ago, probably over a cup of coffee or something a little stronger. I'm not sure it was in Accra or Abuja or in Nairobi, but the idea came up, what if we could? We've got oxygen in the air, we've got nitrogen in the air. What if we could find a way to harvest that and apply it to agriculture and aquaculture? Well, I came back and has been working on research, evidence-based scientific research, although that's a word that America right now doesn't seem to be the in word, but it's under challenge. But scientific research. What if we could find a way to harness the air, to harness oxygen from the air, to harness nitrogen from the air, and apply it to agriculture and aquaculture and food production? So over the last 15 years, I've worked with universities in Asia, United States, Canada, and in Kenya also. And unfortunately, not in Nigeria yet. I hope after this meeting, we will have associates in Nigeria, but worked with it to find a way. And lo and behold, after long, hard slogging and lots of research, we've come up with a way to harness the air for the benefit of agriculture and aquaculture. And that is now available through a company called Earthwise Global. And basically what we do, we have harnessed oxygen and the form of oxygen called ozone from the air to apply it to agricultural crops for basic increasing growth and increasing the sanitation of the water and the sanitation of the actual crops and the facilities that people are actually working in. As I say, innovation in Africa, every country I've gone to, I've got innovations, lists of them that I would like to implement someday if I only had another 50 years on this earth. Bright lights in Africa. Impacts. I see huge impacts coming from macro impact of agri-aquatech innovations, right down to the result of mitigating against climate change. And I'd be glad to talk about that later on or in another time. Increasing food production, decreasing food waste, aquaculture, food, right across the board. But the key is water. So this talk, instead of being aquaculture and agriculture, it probably should be titled Water Tech. And the technology for pure, clean, high quality water is the future of the agriculture, aquaculture, and food industry. It's all about solving problems. And the way I look around and I see food industry, Africa and Asia, Latin America, and here in North America, we have to find a way to increase the nutrient uptake of plants and increase the feed conversion in aquaculture. We all know that oxygen is required in any life form, whether it be in human beings, plants, or fish, in order for us to uptake nutrients. How do we harness oxygen from the air, as we do every day as we take a breath, ourselves as human beings? How do we harness it and apply it to plants and to fish? The other thing we have to do, I believe, particularly in the times of COVID now, with so many chemicals being applied every time we turn around, lower the costs and improve the quality of healthy, chemical-free applications across the food industry. Chemical-free. And totally provide supercharged clean water. Supercharged, highly charged with oxygen and ozone to create effective increases in production and increases in sanitation. So when I started down this path a number of years ago. I said, okay, if we can come up with this solution, harnessing air, harnessing oxygen, harnessing ozone gas, how do we apply it? Well, what we know is that every species requires oxygen at different levels, at different extreme concentrations, at whether it be a plant in germination stage or in seedling stage or in a flowering stage, to increase nutrient uptake. It's the same with fish. How do we apply it? And all the discussions we're having about artificial intelligence, how do we use this to make these systems effective, efficient, and cost benefit to the producer? And the concept of blockchain. How do we use blockchain to improve the quality of our system or our whole food chain? So these are the problems and issues I brought to Earthwise over the last 15 years. And as I traveled Africa and other parts of the world, I raised these questions, me answers. You told me that in order to improve agriculture, we have to supercharge the water, because water is the key to agriculture and aquaculture. How do you supercharge water? Well, is there a difference in a high level of oxygen in water versus a low level? You know, is that no oxygen, both plants and fish die, human beings die. So how do we increase that oxygen in water above the normal oxygen in water that we get from a tap in a municipality, a well of 8 to 12 parts per million? And what would be the impact? And then we look at the environment. What are we going to do to reduce the wasted nutrients and runoff into soil and water in our environment? It's a huge concept. Mm-hmm. So then we looked and I talked to people about the food chain. I said, okay, what do we got to do to improve this food chain? And they said, well, you've got to get sanitation in there. We've got to kill pathogens. We've got to kill foodborne illnesses. People are dying because of this. And the environment, let's stop wasting food. Let's stop putting effluent from food processing and agriculture back into our environment. And let's decrease the costs and increase profitability to encourage people to join agriculture. Young people don't want to be in agriculture because they don't want to be poor. We've got to change that if we want a vibrant agriculture food industry. So these were the challenges and some of the concepts that were thrown at me as I traveled Africa, as I traveled Latin America, and with my colleagues back in the United States and Canada. What do we do? Well, thank goodness, research, science-based evidence, after 15 years and working with people all around the world, we have found a way to harness oxygen from the air and apply it to plants and fish at levels that optimize their health and optimize their growth rate. We have partnered with universities in Canada, the United States, and Asia, And I hope after this conference, we'll be able to say we have partners in Africa, particularly Nigeria. So what have we been able to do? Well, we found a way to increase oxygen levels in water that's being used to go to the roots of plants. We found a way to increase oxygen levels to go to the gills of fish. And as it hits the gills, fish are able to be healthier. They don't have to struggle and fight to get oxygen. I was in Ghana a number of years ago, and I met a friend of mine, and he took me out to his fish farm. And he says, Peter, what's the problem here? In the morning, all my fish are on the surface, belly up. They have no oxygen at night. There's no photosynthesis at night. So we had to find a way to increase continuous 24/7 oxygen in the water for fish. The same thing with plants. Plants need oxygen at the roots to take up the nutrients. Without oxygen at the roots, plants cannot take up nutrients. And no matter how much fertilizer you throw on the field or in your greenhouse, they're not going to be able to take up 100%. And what about bacteria, pathogens in the water? How does that affect the growth of plants? We certainly know that in aquaculture, we throw pharmaceuticals into the water all the time. Kill those pathogens. Well, what if we didn't have to put so many pharmaceuticals in? Oxygen and a derivative oxygen called ozone have been proven to be the answer. The problem is they're gases. And the problem with a gas, you can't hold it in your hands. You can't push it into the sun. You can't stake it and thread it on the field. But lo and behold, if we can distribute that in water by increasing the content, the dissolved oxygen in water, the dissolved ozone in water, we're going to be able to drive that right to the roots of the plants, to the gills of the fish, and increase the level of production and the health of the fish. So what have we been able to do? Well, so far, the benefits to agriculture of our system is we now have faster growth, healthier plants, and higher yields. We're seeing yields between 15 and 30% higher.
Wow.
A recent study came out of the University of Wageningen in Holland. I think did I pronounce that right? Wageningen, I can't pronounce it, but you know the one I mean. It's that good university in Holland. They have recently come up with a study that shows by using our system, they have gotten a 14% increase in yield of strawberries. Significant. The total chemical for that came from the air. No fertilizers, no chemicals. A higher efficiency of nutrients. And our research we're showing, we're going from a 40% use of nutrients in analysis of plant cells to, with our system, up to 85%, meaning only 15% is wasted and goes into runoff to the soil or to the water. More efficient, less runoff, less waste, lower cost to the producer. And in aquaculture, the same thing. The big thing in aquaculture, though, is mortality rate, because we have oxygen in the water all the time, is going in most outdoor ponds from about 40 to 50% mortality rate down to like 10% mortality rate, because the fish always have oxygen. They can breathe. They don't have to struggle. They have a higher conversion rate of food, which means more meat per pound of food, more profit to the producer. Nutrient runoff, the pollution of the water and the wetlands around has decreased tremendously. So to be more specific, I put it on the slide for you. Higher levels of oxygen in water, to our research so far, has proven that we have increased nutrient uptake up to 85% of all chemicals and nutrients put on the plants. They're being uptaken. There's no waste. The shortened life cycle, 10 to 22% shorter in growth periods. The reduction in chemical fertilizers and an increase in yield for 15 to 25%. Aquaculture, the same type of results. The fish like oxygen. They breathe better. They're healthier. They convert the nutrients at a much higher rate. The growth period is shortened to 20 to 30%. The reduced mortality is huge, and increased yields is huge. All of this results in increased profit to the producer and healthier fish to go into the food chain and healthier plants. So as a result, trying to recognize that we're running tight here, and I'd like to answer some questions if I could. Our applications now are able to deliver high oxygenated, ozonated water for plants and fish. We provide continuous sources of oxygen over time direct to plant roots. Our system allows oxygen to stay at the roots of plants and stay alive in the water for up to 6 weeks without dissipating into the air. We can provide varied oxygen levels by species. What our research has proven is that different plants at different stages of growth benefit from higher or lower levels of oxygen. The nutrient level has to be raised or lowered depending whether it's a germination state, whether it's be at seedling and transplanting, or you're flowering for tomatoes or pepper plants or other crops, or actually at yield. So we're seeing that plants are not all created equally. Fish are not all created equally at every stage. Nutrients are required differently, and oxygen is the key to allow them to take up these nutrients. We have developed a system that can either be manually or AI operated that optimizes through an algorithm formula we've developed for various plants and various species of fish so that one can actually optimize the growth rate and minimize the input and of nutrients. These products now are being developed. They're in prototype right now here in Vermont. And in Vermont, it's a beautiful state. That's our Capitol building. This is our university over here. And we're now going into full assembly and manufacturing and hope to be in the market and hope to have products that can achieve these accomplishments available in Africa in the early 2021. And we are hoping that as a result of this, we can build relationships with people online, with organizations, with potential distributors, and with potential research partners. We would like to bring our technology to Africa. We would like to apply it in Africa. We'd like to come up with evidence that it's as effective in Africa as it has been in other parts of the world. So essentially, Earthwise would like to be in Africa. We would like you to work with us, and I'm open to any questions you might have. Thank you. Any questions out there?
I think the questions are still going to the feeds that we created earlier. So we'll curate them and then get them across to you. Like I said, Africa looks forward to receiving you soon. And I know that at NASI, Nigerian Association of Small Scale Industrialists, we have a business matching service that will be made available to you and any other person who's looking forward to partnering up on that. Our next speaker is on, and while I'm thanking Dr. Appleton again, I will be welcoming her. Ifemalo is CEO, Clean Technology Hub Energy Innovation Center. She's online right now, and I just made her co-host so that we can share in her wealth of experience and ideas for today. She'll be speaking on innovative solutions and opportunities in the renewable energy industry. Ify, are you there?
Yes, great. Hi, I'm here. So do you need me to, do you have my presentation or do you need me to share my?
I think it'll be expedient for you to share your screen so that you can go at your pace and
okay, can everybody see my screen then?
Yes, I can see your screen now.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon and thank you for having me here. And sorry I was a bit late signing in, but it's really an honor to be speaking to you today about our work and talking to you about innovative solutions and opportunities and having that be very specific to the renewable energy industry. I run a hub called Clean Technology Hub. It's a hybrid hub that's focused on research, development, demonstration, and incubation of clean and green ideas and technologies. And we work all across sub-Saharan Africa, but a core part of our work is in West Africa, is in the sub-region West Africa. And our work really is to provide research data and provide business incubation support for enterprises and startups, and also help them get validation for commercial stage development and funding. We also sit on the cusp of climate change, working around climate adaptation, climate mitigation, and climate resilience. We were founded in 2015, and how we foster innovation and opportunities in both the renewable energy and climate change sector is looking at issues that address both energy poverty, that can advance clean technologies into African countries, helping with building skills and capacity, also looking at, the human capital elements around job creation, specifically around youth employment, making sure that we're very inclusive in the way that we're promoting growth by including gender and marginalized communities, and involving those local communities, making sure that most of our projects are community-led in terms of whatever it is that we're doing. So today, I'm just quickly going to talk to you quickly about what the landscape is the landscape is in terms of what we are seeing in the renewable energy sector and some of the innovations that are coming up in the renewable energy sector, not just globally, but across sub-Saharan Africa and with a specific context to Nigeria. So you might all know about Africa's energy dilemma. This slide that you have here on your screen is a very popular one. If you've ever attended any energy conference, energy access conference, it shows a map of the world. And this map literally shows you the electrification rates, how the world lights up at night. And you can see the continent of Africa being as one of the darkest, if not the darkest, in this chart. And that shows you the electrification gap between Africa and then the rest of the world. Moving on very quickly, just to put this in context and numbers, you have almost 621 million, almost 650 million people that don't have energy access globally. Now, of that, 600,000 Africans are killed every year by polluting generating sets. So they self-generate. But we have a death rate of 600,000. And then you have about 93 million Nigerians that lack energy access. So you have people who lack energy access, but then you have 600 people who are dying because they're having to self-generate through firewood, through diesel generators, or through petrol generators. And at the rates that we're growing, the data shows that we can only get universal energy access, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, at the current pace we're going by 2080. So this gives you these numbers give you a stark sense of the realities of what we face in terms of what the energy access is and why it is important that we begin to look at innovation as a way to leapfrog the issues that we're trying to do when we're talking about electrification, or we're even trying to deal with climate change issues. Sorry. Now to the next slide. So here is the way that we've looked at, the energy revolution or the revolutions that have occurred generally, not just specific to energy, across the globe. We had the first industrial revolution, which was driven by the steam engines. And then you had the second industrial revolution, which was driven by coal. And then that's when you started to have a lot of the interconnected, high railway lines. And then, of course, the third industrial revolution, which has been majorly driven by oil and gas. And then the fourth and fifth industrial revolution, which is being driven by both clean energy and then, of course, telecommunications, which is some of the trends that we see. So one of the things to note very quickly is that the clean energy now accounts for more than half of all the new energy supplies that we're seeing globally. And this is a quote from the IEA in Paris. Very quickly, moving on. Now, when we talk about Africa's energy revolution, some of the trends that we've noticed is that, you know, we're still very, very far off, like you saw from that chart and some of those numbers that were cited earlier. A lot of the energy innovations that we're seeing, or some of the electrification and energy access that we see, are much more urban focused. Africa still has a very centralized system. Nigeria very much so, even though we see some changes going on. There's weak distribution and transmission networks. It's very slow to scale, even when we build new grids, new power grids. The rigid financing models make these systems very hard to put in place. So for a gas to power plant, a grid-based plant, it takes about 10 years from the time of inception to the time that it's going to actually, you know, begin to produce power or energy. And there's a very top to bottom approach in terms of how our energy systems are built all across Africa, all across sub-Saharan Africa. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this slide because it just shows you what the conventional power grid system is, how it goes from a generating plant through a transmission plant to a distribution plant and into the home. So that's a bit redundant. But when you look at Nigeria, our own specific energy situation is quite, you know, unique in that we're the largest country in terms of population size across sub-Saharan Africa. You know, we have about 190 million people based on the World Bank data, and that data is constantly changing very rapidly as we go along. And in comparison, you can look at some of the other data that we have for India, Ghana, China, and United States in terms of average power per capita. But our installed capital in Nigeria is 12,000 megawatts. What that means is that's how much energy that we have that we can produce if we're operating at optimum with all our power grids. And that's a mix between thermal and hydro. In terms of the connections that you have in the country, you have urban population, the urban centers and some of the peri-urban centers at 55%. And then you have a 36% rural population that's electrified. You have 20 million households in Nigeria that are unelectrified. And you remember the other data that we showed that showed you that 90 something million people, I think 96 million people unelectrified. When you then break it down to households based on the number of people per household, it comes to about 20 million households that are unelectrified. So the problem with Nigeria's conventional electricity grid is something that I think everybody knows. We've already highlighted it earlier on. The same ones that have been highlighted around the issues with sub-Saharan Africa. We have a very centralized system. We have 12,000 megawatts installed capacity, but we generate at an average of 4,000 megawatts. We generate and distribute about 4,000 megawatts at an average in Nigeria currently. And that's because a lot of our gas turbines are not operating at full capacity. So even though they've been built, many of them don't have the gas that they need to power them. So then, having highlighted the problem, the question then is, where do we go from here? What's the solution? The country started, I think, sometime in 2010 to begin to look at decentralized renewable energy or decentralized systems of energy access. And renewable energy featured very prominently in the plans of the government on how to begin to think about how to decentralize, how people are both generating energy, but also consuming energy. And as a result of that plan, we came up with a number of policies and regulations that were supposed to help to accelerate energy access and make clean energy access one of the foremost way, especially for rural communities, to begin to get electrified immediately. So this is how the innovation in the sector has been birthed in the energy access and the rural electrification, and the general electricity sector in Nigeria has been, elevated. Since 2015, we've seen a lot of activities in the electricity sector, mainly focused on mini grids, microgrids, people trying to do projects around small solar home systems, mini hydros, geothermal, biogas, and biomass projects. So there's been a rise of renewable energy, and you can see the different types of models that are coming up. We have the pay-as-you-go system. Many of you know you must have seen some of the Lumos adverts that are everywhere, where people that even have small and medium-scale businesses are buying these systems to power their barber's shop, their bakeries, or their trading stores all across the country. We're seeing increasingly a lot of off-grid rooftop solar solutions. The picture you see there is actually an estate in Guzape in Abuja, built by Blue Camel. And that estate is fully 100% powered by renewable energy solar rooftop, everything from even the carport. We have mini grids that are being developed across the country with the generous grants and loan from the World Bank and the AFDB, which is about $550 million. We can see, we've seen a lot of energy going into building mini grids to accelerate rural electrification across Nigeria. There are projects across Nigeria also on small hydros, mini hydros, as well as wind farms and biogas solutions. So moving on very quickly. So how then does innovation come into this? Because now we're thinking about how, there's all of these things are a lot of hard tech. When I talk to people who are in the tech ecosystem, most of the time they're always asking how can they play a part in the growing energy sector? And here is our answer to that question, because this is what we see. We've seen a lot of, because of the amount of rural electrification, the amount of rural communities that are still unelectrified in Nigeria in the year 2020, we're seeing an increasing need for tech innovative solutions to become the catalyst to accelerate how this energy access gets into homes and is able to build new cottage industries. So you can see that, there's everything from remote monitoring, data and digitalization, e-payment solutions, e-financing, some of the modeling and system designs that actually are driven by new technologies. There's the smart meters, there's a lot of IoT applications that go into building something like a mini grid. And these are some of the things that are actually driving the innovation that we see when we talk about rural energy access. Some of the companies that are actually in the forefront of these are companies that are listed out here. Odyssey has a mini grid planning and toolkit software where a lot of mini grid developers are able to get real-time, on-time data. And then you have Nithio, which is an energy data analytics company that is able to give you all sorts of data from every site, not every site, but many sites across the country, in terms of how much power people are consuming, what kind of consumption patterns there are in various communities. And this data is being driven by innovative tech, it's IoT. So you can see how this is constantly beginning to help shape the nature of energy access that we see across the country. Now, in terms of other companies that are working in this space, we have Homer Energy, we have Siemens. Everybody must have heard about the GE deal that was just signed between the Nigerian government and also General Electric, which is trying to, Siemens and Nigeria, which is trying to sort of revamp our energy sector. And what this means is, that the way that we're going to build out our energy systems currently is changing, and that's been driven by a lot of the changes that we see in the way technology is being used and utilized. There's a lot of talk about the 4th and 5th industrial revolution, Well, those things are being driven through the Internet of Things, and how that is connecting the world through, through digitization and through digital models, in terms of how, those tech are connecting both electricity, both users, both end users, and both providers. This slide here just gives you a short snapshot of how the IoT, when it comes to energy access, works. Whether it's from the utility grid, from a mini grid, for instance, and how it builds into an energy demand model, and has, all sorts of layers through monitoring, control, and balance, into issues around storage systems. You can see there's a rise of electric vehicles. There's already a lot of chatter across African countries about a rise of electric vehicles, and those things are actually also being driven by renewable energy, and the turbulence that we see currently in the fluctuating oil prices. It's interesting to note that Nigeria, as an oil producing country, has one of the largest renewable energy departments in its oil company, its national oil company. The NNPC has a huge renewable energy company, which it started a couple of years ago. And that's because even as an oil company, which is supposed to harness the country's oil and gas sector, they are now beginning to shift their thinking along with the rest of the country and the rest of the world into how they can be much more greener, how they can be much more nimbler, and what kind of innovative tech they can use to actually do a lot of business adaptation. So what are the opportunities in the renewable energy sector? The global trends are very clear. I'm almost done here.
Thank you.
We see a lot of, we see a lot of solar PV leading the pack in terms of, the global trend around renewable energy sector. And then battery capacity is also the other thing that is leading, energy access trends. We also see trends around large tech companies beginning to get into the renewable energy sector. For instance, we've seen Google that has announced that it has reached its 100% renewable energy target. Facebook signed contracts of over 3 gigawatts of wind and solar energy. Yahoo, powered mainly by wind. Apple spends 2.5 billion in environmental initiatives, and it goes on and on and on. Now, let me skip a lot of these slides and go towards the end. Sorry, 1 second. One of the things to note is that when we look at how the global trends is then feeding into the African narrative and down into Nigerian narrative, electricity storage, efficiency, and artificial intelligence are the things that are now driving a lot of the work that's going on in the renewable energy and energy access sector. And it's also leading the conversation around the drive to reduce carbon emissions and to cut down climate change issues and mitigate the impact. Lastly, in terms of the local trend, we've seen an increased government commitment from the Nigerian government, where we have all sorts of sustainability plans. And we've seen state governments even take the leap to actually begin to partner with solar companies and large renewable energy companies. Huge grants facilities that are coming into the country from multilaterals, and even increased funding and financing. A lot of the donor finance institutions are already looking at how they can finance issues around clean energy and energy efficiency. A lot of them are also interested in thinking about asking people who they are funding how they are building tech and innovation to make this, to reduce a lot of the inefficiencies that are currently in the grid sector and that are sort of showing up in the renewable energy sector. So having said that, I mean, one of the things to note is that there's a lot of opportunities here. It's a growing sector, not just in Nigeria, but across sub-Saharan Africa. We've grown from 10 mini-grid companies to about 36 mini-grid companies in the past 2 years, and it's constantly growing. We expect to hit about 100 in another year. And all of these companies are going to need support systems, payment platforms. They're going to need digitalization platforms. And so if this is a sector that's interesting to you or that you want to be a part of, please feel free to contact us because we'll be able to connect you to that ecosystem.
Great.
Having said that, I'll just stop here for now and be happy to take more questions as they come along. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So we have questions, but some of the speakers have left. I think Fatoumata is left. So some of the questions that go to her, but is Bruno still there? Bruno, are you there? Looks like Bruno is not there. You know, I think we'll just take if it's questions. So if there's anybody in the house with questions for EP, if you please understand that we wanted to sort out the questions that we've had hanging for some hours before we came. But if there's anyone here with questions for EP from any of the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, we'll take them now. Is Dr. Appleton there? Dr. Appleton's also not there. I think I should just take some of the questions that I've had come in before. Now, Ify, some of them may not concern you directly, but it's in the field and I see that it still falls within your alley. Okay, so we had a question come in earlier on the problems around tech. How do we diffuse this tech disconnect, especially looking at Nigeria? A lot of people, when you speak AI, when you speak renewable energy, people think it's reserved for a particular tech elite core. But from the presentations that we've seen today, tech does not have to be rocket science, neither does innovation. How do we diffuse this?
So thank you, Mo. I think that's a great question. There's a lot of work that's going on to reduce the barrier to entry for tech innovators that want to come into the renewable energy sector. And I can talk about two quick ones. One of them is being driven by the Nigerian Climate Innovation Center. It's a World Bank funded center. The World Bank and the Office of the President, I think, started it. And the NCIC, the CIC is a World Bank project that's been deployed, I think, across 55 countries already, Nigeria being one of them. They hold hackathons and they hold ideathons where they invite people, whether from the tech sector, the telecom sector, or even the hardware makerspace, renewable energy sector, to come in and pitch and bring up ideas about how to solve Nigeria's energy access issues, and then create funding opportunities for them. And they've had this twice in a row now. So what we've seen is that we've seen a lot of people designing tech solutions that are suited for their own localities. Okay. Whether it's in the north, where the weather and the topography is a lot more arid and more dispersed, or whether it's in the south, where there's a lot of density in terms of, and a lot of, consumption patterns. And so designing local solutions by local tech people has been one way that, we've seen this barrier to entry being reduced. And like I said, these are ordinary day Nigerians who are using sometimes something as simple as their mobile phones to do this work. Similarly, at Clean Tech Hub, we're also being funded by Orlon and the Rockefeller Foundation to do something similar and to find ways to get new entrants, new companies into the renewable energy sector, so that it's not the same 20 companies that we've had for the past 2 years that continue to exist another year later, considering how difficult it is to access finance. So that project is called the Enterprise Development Program. When we launched it, I think we had about 200 applications. We reduced it to about 50 people who pitched. And we have about 25 companies now going through an 8-month incubation program, from everything from how to build a business plan, marketing plan, product launch, registration, legal registration, IP and intellectual property registration, how to build foundational investable companies. And I think we need to do a lot more of that so that we can get young people who have these ideas but don't have the capacity to be able to get into this sector. But it's not rocket science, as you said. It's us creating the enabling environment, working very closely with government to make it happen.
Great, great. I see that. Okay, so and there's another question here about readiness to deploy renewable energy technologies at the grassroots. How feasible is Nigeria's readiness?
Okay, Nigeria has a 30-30-30 plan. So it's 30%, like that's the overall plan in terms of meeting some of our SDG 7 goals. And I think a lot of that plan, like I said, a lot of the work that is going on around clean energy and renewable energy is in the rural areas, rural communities that are completely disconnected from, the grid. There are communities that have never been connected to the grid, or those that have been connected and have lost their connections, either that pole wires were built into the villages or those communities, but they were never lit up at any point. Now you have a lot of mini grid companies that are going into those communities and doing their mini grid projects there. Almost 95% of the mini grid projects we have, active mini grid projects we have that are live in Nigeria, are in rural communities. And what that does is when those mini grids are built in those rural communities, people start businesses. You see somebody who starts to become a welder. Somebody starts to make zobo, using ice block to make zobo or to clean drinks, clean vans and all of those things. So cottage communities, cottage businesses sort of grow from those mini grids that are put in there. So we've seen an uptick in the way that local communities are adopting renewable energy and are paying for them. So it's not something that is unique. It's how then do we make it sustainable and how do we make it grow? That's the question.
Great. Thank you so much, Ify. Such wealth of, and your numbers are so sharp. Thank you so much for the information you've given. I'm sure that a lot of our people will be reaching out to you after this time. We'll take two very important messages right now. And then we'll come back for a recap. Our tech team will be airing that now. Thank you. Me.
Following global trends in telecommunications development of 5G, the Nigerian Communications Commission in November 2019 embarked on a proof of concept with MTN in 6 locations. Relevant stakeholders, including members of security agencies, were involved in the trial. The Commission considered that the development of the 5th generation technology will be beneficial for socio-economic development of Nigeria and will consequently promote the national digital Following global trends in telecommunications development of 5G, the Nigerian Communications Commission in November 2019 embarked on a proof of concept with MTN in 6 locations. Relevant stakeholders, including members of security agencies, were involved in the trial. The Commission considered that the development of the 5th generation technology will be beneficial for socio-economic development of Nigeria and will consequently promote the national digital economy for a digital Nigeria that will improve the way Nigerians live and work. In view of the successful completion of the trial and a directive from the Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, the Commission commenced the development of a policy for the deployment of 5G in Nigeria. The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Office of the National Security Advisor, National Assembly, Ministry of Health, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria are among the stakeholders that will make input into this policy. Details on NCC's website. 5G will not be deployed in Nigeria until the policy is concluded and approved. Dr. Ikechukwu Adinde, Director of Public Affairs, announcer. Following global trends in telecommunications development of 5G, the Nigerian Communications Commission in November 2019 embarked on a proof of concept with MTN in 6 locations. Relevant stakeholders, including members of security agencies, were involved in the trial. The Commission considered that the development of the 5th generation technology will be beneficial for socio-economic development of Nigeria and will consequently promote the national digital economy for a digital Nigeria that will improve the way Nigerians live and work. In view of the successful completion of the trial and a directive from the Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, the Commission commenced the development of a policy for the deployment of 5G in Nigeria. The Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Office of the National Security Advisor, National Assembly, Ministry of Health, National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria are among the stakeholders that will make input into this policy. Details on NCC's website. 5G will not be deployed in Nigeria until the policy is concluded and approved. Dr. Ikechukwu Adinde, Director of Public Affairs, announcer.
My name is Magnus Semenoga. I develop mechatronic systems. Magnus Semenoga. I develop mechatronic systems. Innovation in the field of technology for over 6 years now, and it is really cool and exciting to relate calculations from engineering concepts to developing a physical systems.
Over here at the University of Calabar, I got the essential guidelines that I need, and with this,
I develop products in electronics engineering, mechanical engineering, and integrate the both field through programming.
During the lockdown, I developed a 3-channel audio mixer, which I integrated with an FM transmitter.
This is a project that I've ever wanted to do. I've been taught the concept of electromagnetic radiation, and personally, I would want to make something on my own from it. When I completed the development of the system, after 1 month of engaging into it, I made my first live broadcast. Have you, Mr. Coast Time? Where are you? You're watching us live, or are you listening to us on radio? I'm listening live, but I cannot tune in because of my distance. It's more than 200 meters. Wow, that's lovely. So where are you? Where are you? Which states are you currently now at this moment? I'm in Benin City. Benin City of Nigeria. Benin City. I'm very surprised that this is the that you guys could develop transmitter. Yeah. And so far I saw it on Facebook that you are posting the image of it. I was like, Jesus, this is amazing. I've spoken with you before on Facebook, but I've no idea that you have the capacity to develop such a wonderful transmitter. Seeing you on live now, working with me, it gives me the impetus to call you and congratulate you for this wonderful testing you have done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was really happy by people calling into the show, and for me, that was the big problem. I have completed 3 projects during this lockdown. I have the MISA system, I have the ultimate power supply, I have the inverter system, and more recently, I have the automatic changeover system. Aside from developing this system, I also develop products which is proposed by my clients.
Making of these systems comes with a lot of requirements and materials, and I must say, that is the main challenging factor, sourcing materials.
It is really not easy, but I strongly believe that passion has been the fuel element that has been able to make me do what I can do in order to make things work.
Great. I am super impressed, and I know that a lot more people are inspired here. So I think from the very first presentation, Andrew Bourne has shown us that for every small business, technology is inseparable. You need technology, and you need to embrace a culture of innovation. Continuous improvement culture should be the backbone of every business. And then Andrew encouraged us to create teams and create culture captains and have continuous improvement plans. And we also got a Zoho survey template. It allows us to be able to tap into a structure, a ready-made structure, helping us to build that kind of system. The job market is largely also dependent on the MSMEs. We heard some stats rolled out, 7 to 8 out of 10 jobs depends on the MSME industry, making 70% of MSMEs, putting them in need of about $100 billion. And of course, multiple opportunities in oil and gas. Everybody needs tech. Needs tech for security, needs tech for carbon prints, wastage curbing, and emergency warning systems, health and safety. About 43% of our entire population is in the MSME industry. I think that's mind-blowing, and that gives us a huge opportunity. Of course, with the post-COVID economy, I think it creates more opportunities for people to come into that space. I think that's just magnificent. But also, we had some guidelines on changing our thinking from a funding mentality to a positioning mentality. It's not about where the money is, it's about where you're standing. So we're encouraged to pivot, innovate, solve old problems with new solutions, map out business models, digital literacy, embrace digital literacy, because everyone needs to be on this digital game. Ian also took us through the community and collaboration aspect of innovation. ISPIM has opened its doors to Nigerians. Every one of us is encouraged. We're encouraged to go and register on the ISPIM website. All of this information you will find on our website and on the platforms. Ella took us through a very robust example of how to take digital literacy very seriously. She took us through the example of Slum to School and how they created the digital education program and the things that they've been able to do. I've seen that video that she wasn't able to play. I saw clearly that they had a virtual studio, and in that virtual studio, a teacher could come and reach thousands. I think they have hundreds of thousands of students who are connected via tabs, sometimes in places like Makoko. So you have a child that is on a fishing canoe, really. And this child has access to digital education because of connectivity. And I think it's really impressive what Slum to School has been able to do there, also helping us to outline the things that are necessary for us to form the right critical thinking path, need, solution, access, and the rest of them. Dr. Appleton took us through a real life example of innovating in an area that you probably wouldn't think that innovation is possible anymore. I mean, in natural resources, water, air, what could you add to that? So it's not really a case of adding something to water. It's just a case of taking what you have and making what you need. And Earthwise has been able to develop the kind of technology that allows us to have better yields in agriculture and better productivity in aquaculture by oxygenating water and adding ozone as well to it. This is, I think, a game changer in agriculture. And I will personally be looking forward to engaging Dr. Appleton and Earthwise in making their inroads into Africa and Nigeria. Professors Bruno and Abayomi Bayeri have been able to take us through the beginning stages of what they will finish to, unveiling to us tomorrow. But the workshop that they've started with the data that they started to collect from us, I think it's something to really look forward to tomorrow. I won't finish unwrapping that. IFI has been gracious in providing us not just with the statistics, but also an expert's insight into what the renewable energy space in Nigeria looks like, the kinds of support that government is already giving to that industry, to that sector. And the numbers are staggering, actually. 93 million Nigerians lacking access to electrification is mind-blowing. And of those 93 million, 600,000 are dying from self-generating hazards. I think that's an emergency right there. And if for nothing, for the sake of safety and health of Nigerians, the intervention in this sector is urgent and we need to get on it right away. So we need to get away from the centralized system of electrification and also improve our game on generating and distributing what is currently estimated to be about 4,000 megawatts. And I think also it's good for me to point out here that the business of providing amenities for Nigerians should not be the business of government alone. It should be the business of businesses, because we're the first consumers, we're the first husbandmen in this area. And really, it's not going to be enough to leave this to government. So this is a call to action for businesses and for entrepreneurs in any of the spaces who are looking to get into any of the sectors that we've looked at today. I would ask you to please get in touch with us at the Nigeria Innovation Summit and let us link you up with some of the other partners that are willing to play in this field, and let us get the work going and let the business of government remain the business of government and the business of business be our business. So with this recap, it brings us to an end of today's session. We've overshot by just 4 minutes. We were able to redeem time. We were really far gone before. But I really want to appreciate not just our sponsors and Zoho Corporation and the NCC, but I also especially want to appreciate the people who tuned in and have stayed on all this time. I'm really grateful. And our team here could not have done this without you. We're very grateful that you tuned in. We're grateful that you stayed on, and we expect to see you again tomorrow. We hope that the things that you've learned and captured will go on to become action points, and then they become presentations for another summit, another day. This is about it, and we're up tomorrow and wrapping it up there as well with 10 innovative startups on the showcase tomorrow. Thank you so very much again, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye now.
Well done, and was quite an insightful presentation. A lot of lessons learned and windows to hook on. Thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow, guys.
Yeah.